From Vin Diesel's School for Intelligent Hair Design, this is Kurt Berglund with a unboxing video of Triple Play Baseball, a board game that I think flies under the radar a little bit, and I wanted to show some folks what it looks like just in time to completely destroy your holiday budget. You're welcome. So, first I'm going to go through the parts to the game that you get when they're ordered and talk a little bit about what your ordering options are. The website is www.tpbbaseball, and each season since 1972 has been created. You can get every team if you want to. You can get the all-star teams, just those if you want to. Or you can get the playoff teams if you want to have those. So those are your ordering options. You also have a variety of options for color charts or not. I think there are some black and white cards or not. These are the colored cards. They're given with, this is the 1974 Oakland A's, and you can see what they look like a little bit, and we're going to go into more detail on the cards, but the team colors are featured with every player's name. And if you order the playoffs teams like I did, you get about 30 guys per team. Most of the players that were playoff eligible or could have been playoff eligible, if it weren't for, like, for give you an example, for the 1980 Houston Astros, J.R. Richard is carded with the playoff Astros, even though because of his stroke he was not playoff eligible. On the other hand, for the 1980 Philadelphia Phillies, George Vukovich, backup outfielder, only had like 70 some odd plate appearances during the season, but he was on the playoff roster. So even though he had fewer plate appearances during the regular season, but he was on the playoff roster, he gets a card. So there is around 30 players per team. I ordered the 1974 playoff teams and the 1980 playoff teams, and so that's what you'll be seeing. In the box that I received, which looks like this, you get a set of charts for your particular season. Again, there's an option to get these in color if you wish. There are, and I think this is pretty standard because it was the case for both seasons that I ordered. 6 pages front and back with some information on them. And then the cards. The cards are perforated. I'll hold this up against a pen so you get an idea of how big they are. They're perforated. All you have to do is separate them that way. Okay? If I had a ruler, I'd measure them, but I don't. All right, so when you open your box, you can also order dice if you wish. I have more than enough dice, so we're good that way. And you also get a few pages of procedures, of rules, sort of. It's not really rules. It's more like this is a 4-page document. There's one for each season. It kind of goes over what's there and a little bit about how to do things in the game. But it's pretty intuitive. And there's 4 pages, front and back. Actually, 7 sides of paper are used, and 2 of the 7 sides are about a draft league, setting up a draft league, which you can do with these cards. It seems like it would be very conducive for that if you were so inclined. So 5 of the 7 pages are about setting up the game or about playing the game, and then you have the charts. So it's fairly quick play given the amount of detail that you get in the game. All right, so so what we're going to do in this video is to talk about what you would do to get playing the game, and in a separate video, if you're interested in me going through an entire game and showing what that would look like, I will do that. Just put that in the comments below, and I will set that up. I'm also going to be doing a few more unboxing videos over the next few weeks. And if there's a game that you think is flying under the radar that you would like me to take a look at and create a video for, please let me know. The next one on my radar is called Baseball Guru, and I will, it's going to take me a few days to plow through that one, but we'll be getting that on the channel pretty quickly. All right, so let's go through. I'm going to try and break down what you need to do to play the game and show you how it works, and then you will know about Triple Play Baseball. Here we go. All right, so we are ready to start our game. What we're going to do is to suppose that we were going to replay the 1974 World Series between the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Oakland A's. And so the first place where we would start, and I've tried to number my Post-its in sequential order for those of us that are inclined in a sequential manner to think that way, is to start with the weather. And so what you have here is a box that has the Oakland and San Francisco weather effects. Well, we're doing the World Series, so we're going to look over to October, and then we're going to roll our dice. And so we need 2 dice. These are 2 D10s. And I'm going to read, I guess you can see it, but I'm going to do the red die as the 10s die, and the white die as the 1s die. So this is a roll of 75 on our weather check. All right, so then we look down here to 75, and what we have in our October World Series day is a partly cloudy, we have to start here, which is the temperature. The day temperature is cool because we rolled a 75, and that falls between 61 and 99. And then we roll for precipitation, and that's a 34, and that tells us it's clear. So it's cool. We're playing a day game. It's cool, it's clear, and we're going to roll for wind, a 69, and that is the wind is blowing out. So what does all that mean? Well, we're going to look now at our weather key. Cool means we're going to increase the starter stamina by 4, and we'll talk about what that means. Obviously, clear is clear, and then the wind blowing out we'll talk about when we get to that chart for effects. All right, so the first thing is done now. We have a weather roll done of a cool day. It's a day game, cool, clear, and the wind is blowing out. Okay, so that's step 1. Now we'll put our weather aside, and as you can see, we've eliminated really almost two of the pages that you need for the game. So the pages might be a little bit intimidating, but they don't have to be, because so many of these charts kind of fall away as you use them. All right, so what we're going to do now is to look at the cards, and I'm going to use 2 cards in particular to kind of show you what they look like, and then show you, we're going to get into what the outcomes of the game would be. And so the cards we're going to use we're going to imagine John Blue Moon Odom was on the mound, and we're going to imagine that Bill Buckner is at bat. These are what triple play baseball cards look like. A couple of things that you should notice right off the bat. One is that so they're divided into splits. So this is the versus left-handed pitchers versus right-handed pitchers. And for Odom, this is versus left-handed batters. This is versus right-handed batters. There are ratings. And so if you look at defense, you see that Bill Buckner was a left fielder. And then you see this AV, and you say to yourself, well, what does that mean? Well, for defense, for each player, their skills in terms of range are divided into 7 different categories. Superior, and that gets you an SP on the card. Very good, it gets you a VG. Average, AV, and that's what Buckner is. He's an AV for range. He could be fair, FR, mediocre, MD, poor, PR, and weak, WK. This is best, this is worst, and they go in that order. Then you get an error rating. An error rating is 1, which is the worst, to 20. Buckner is an 11, an error rating of 11. 20 is the best. Then you get a throwing arm. -4 is the best. +3 is the worst. Buckner is a -1, so he's kind of in the middle. Then you see he's rated for a second position. He's rated at first base, where he's an average fielder with an error rating of 13. Now the pitchers get this as well. So if you look at the range for Blue Moon Odom, he's a VG, which is very good. He has an error rating of 5, and hold of 2, and a steal of -1. Okay, the third thing that I want to draw your attention to on the batter's card is a batter's rating of clutch. You can get T for tough, N for neutral, or C for choke. And every batter's got one of those as well. So you can see he gets a T for tough in the clutch. That could matter later on in the game in a couple of different situations. Odom gets one as well. Okay, so that is a little bit about the cards. Now let's look further down below. You can see at the bottom of the card you have all the stats. Buckner at 314, on base 351, slugging 412. Okay, now for Odom, because he was in an American League that used the DH, did not have pitchers bat. These are his batting stats, so they put those over there, and they put his pitching stats at the bottom. Okay. Next, on the card, you notice that 0 to 499 is a batter result. 500 to 999 is a pitcher result. You should also see that 0 to 96 is the same for all batters. 0 to 10 is a crazy play that sends you to a chart. Error check, 11 to 70, that's the same. Line out, shortstop or second base, depending upon which kind of pitcher he's facing, 71 to 80. And then your park effects, 81 to 96. Okay. Same thing is true for a pitcher in one case, and that's the 500 to 519 is a wild pitch check. Everything after that is a little bit different in terms of the ranges that the pitcher could have. But for the batter ranges here, for the pitcher, the different outcomes are the same, but the ranges could be different. For the batter, the outcomes are the same and the ranges are the same through 96. I hope that makes sense. All right. So it's time so we've done in our logical order, we've done our weather roll. We're going to check our ballpark effects for our particular ballpark. So when we look at ballpark effects, we come to this chart, and again, you'd get the hang of this very, very quickly as you played a few games. We're going to come down here to Oakland. That's where our game is being played. The surface is grass. The height is 8 feet. The foul territory is enormous. Depending upon the kind of hit it is or where it's going, these are the numbers you need to get it out. And this tells you here, if the wind is blowing out, -5 to wall distance. Wall distance matters because this is your wall distance. Okay, so if a drive is hit deep, you could need to check your distance in your park, or it could be an auto homer. Either way, the game has them both. All right, so we've done our first parts that need to be done. We've done our weather roll, and we've checked our ballpark effects. All right, so what are the batter outcomes? Well, one more thing about the pitcher cards. Let's look here. Each pitcher could have a special pitcher rating, and those are found here at the bottom of their list in the right column. A B turns even-numbered walks on hitter cards into foul balls. So if you had a B and Buckner rolled a walk, let's say he rolled a 341. 342, an even-numbered walk outcome, 342. Well, that would mean that the B would turn him into a foul ball. You'd re-roll. So for B ratings, it's harder to walk batters. L pitchers, the leadoff walks on hitter cards turn into foul balls. Okay, leadoff walks become foul balls. F is for the reliever, becomes a T for the first batter, and he gets a clutch situation. Okay, we know that he's a clutch pitcher because the T rating is right there, and so each individual letter gets you a different pitcher sort of skill rating in the game of triple play baseball. So, okay, and then this is an R, and an R for a pitcher means that all singles become range infield plays for the first batter. So when he comes in the game, if a batter gets a single, then for the first batter, you're checking the fielder's range to see if maybe he makes the play. Different pitchers have different special letters. Some have none, but there are different special letters they could have that could affect their performance. All right, that's it for pitcher special ratings. One more thing about pitchers, and then we'll do the batters, and that is their stamina. So if we look at the stamina here, we know that Odom is a short reliever, but he also, as a starter, has a stamina of 24. He relieved, and he started. Okay. For pitcher stamina, your starters have a number. His is 24. Your relievers also have a number. If they're a long reliever, you get 15. If you're a short reliever, you get 11. That would be his in short relief. And if you're a closer, you get 9. The way stamina works in triple play baseball, you can face your number of batters, and then any 2 base runners allowed means you become exhausted. And if you become exhausted, then that can affect outcomes further down on the chart. Okay, so you can also become exhausted if you allow 5 earned runs or 7 runs total. Or, one other thing is if you're a reliever and you pitch on consecutive days, you get -3 to the batters you face before you can become exhausted. So a short reliever pitching on consecutive days, like Odom, the first day would be an 11. The second day he'd be an 8. If you pitch him 3 days in a row, he'd be a 5 before he could become exhausted if he allows those 2 base runners. So that's the pitcher stamina provision in the game. All right, so let's look at what you can get for batter-pitcher interaction outcomes. All right, so what that looks like is this. First, you get crazy plays, 0 to 10. If you roll 0 to 10, you go to a crazy play chart, and then you look at where that could be, where you'd have to re-roll, and then look at those outcomes. So let's do that for a moment and see what you get. This is, crazy plays are like a rare play check in a lot of games that you're probably familiar with. 0 to 10 on a 1,000-point scale, you're not going to be getting very often, but when you do, it's something unusual. So, and of course, here we go. Here are your crazy plays. So we'll do an example. Let's say you get a crazy play roll, and then you roll again, and it's 859 to 889. So you roll a 10 and get a crazy play on Buckner's card. Then you roll an 857. The batter triples to right center. The defense thinks he missed first base. You roll 1 die, one of your 10-sided dice. 0 to 4, he's called out and ejected for arguing. 5 to 9, the batter's called safe and credited with a triple. So let's say Buckner hits his triple, which he almost did, and then got shot down at third base in the World Series of 74. We rolled a 6. So in that case, Buckner is safe and he's credited with a triple. And that's an example of a crazy play. So you get a crazy play chart. Then you get, let's suppose that you get a hit. If there are runners on, so we've done the crazy plays. If you get a hit, you check sending runners if there are men on base. So there can be an option for you to send a base runner. First, it tells you here on the base runner advancement chart, depending upon where it goes and the surface that you have, here's the destination, here's the surface, and then what you can get for advancement. There's also a chart, which is pretty standard, and I think you'd probably get this down pretty quickly depending upon how often you played the game. But if you play the game pretty consistently, I'm finding that chart gets memorized. The second thing is you can have an optional send of the base runner. And that chart looks like this one. And so you re-roll, and depending upon, you can choose to push the runner depending upon where they are and what type of hit it is. Okay? So that's pretty common to all games. Third is the ground ball to the infield. Now, there are several types of ground balls. There are regular ground balls. And let's look at Buckner's card. Here we go. There's a double play ground ball. There's an RG ground ball. And then RG is a regular grounder, SG is a soft grounder, and DP is a double play grounder. So an SG grounder, let's see if there's one on this card, and of course, if there's one on Odom's card, here's a soft grounder. So what this does, the soft grounder, the runner advances one base. On a regular grounder where you see the RG, that means that there's a force out at second base if it's possible. And a DP means you turn the double play. So those are the types of ground balls. There's also a possibility where you need to check range. And so depending upon what you roll, you could have a range outcome as well. All right. Same thing is true for outfield play. There are outfield fly balls where you stay put. There's an outfield fly ball where you can try and score from third on tag play, and then there's an outfield ball where everybody advances. There's a range check chart for the outfield as well, and we know that because Buckner's range is an 11 out of 20. There's an error check. And so there's one, and here's another. And so what happens is there is an opportunity for errors to take place based on the fielder's error rating. So his range is AV, which is average. The range is 11. I misspoke before. The error is 11. The range is average. All right. Next is, we're almost through the batter outcomes, actually. Next is the deep chart. And if it's hit deep, you know it because that's your outcome. So this is a chance for a ball to end up in the seats depending upon the dimensions of the ballpark that you're in. So obviously for a park like Oakland, you have a greater chance of the ball leaving the yard. A lesser chance of a ball leaving the yard than you do if you're in, Fenway or Wrigley or someplace like that. So, let's get you the deep chart. Here we go. This is the 1974 deep chart. They vary per season. And so depending upon the particular dimensions of your park, in Oakland, let's say the ball was hit to left field, you'd be at 23. You'd look over here at the 23, you'd re-roll, and based on your power of your player, it could be gone. Okay, and that's it. Next is wild pitches and passed balls. They can certainly occur in this game. And they are found on this chart. So based on your wild pitch rating or your passed ball rating, one could happen, or the pitch could be blocked by the catcher successfully. And it also goes into whether or not the play can be made in foul territory on a foul ball. So a place like Oakland, you'd have a much greater chance of a foul ball being caught for an out than you would somewhere like Wrigley, where there's very little foul territory. And then there's hit and run plays as well that can be affected by wild pitches and passed balls. All right. So those are the batter outcomes. We've kind of gone through them rather quickly, but you can have a crazy play. You can have a hit. You can have a ground ball to the infield, one of three types. You can have a fly ball to the outfield. You could have range checks on either type. You could have a possible error. You could have a deep chart, park impact, obviously, and a wild pitch or a pass ball. All of those are possible outcomes from these player cards. Okay, now we get to the fun part. And that is the part that you have to play as a manager. What are your options? What sets this game apart in terms of your choices that you make with it? Here are your strategy options that you can do as a manager in this game. Here we go. All right, so you can bunt, sacrifice, or squeeze. You can hit and run. You can send the runners for extra bases at certain points. You can steal, but every stolen base has a check for a jump. So you check for the jump, and then you can steal based on that rating, or you can go without it. You must warm up your relief pitchers in this game, and they are warmed up for 2 batters, or if you start them in between innings, you can do that, and then 1 batter more, and they're ready. You must rest pitchers. If you don't, as I talked about before, your stamina can be impacted. So pitcher rest is important. You can play the infield in. There's ways to do that. And in an interesting little dynamic, you can pitch around batters, and there's rules for how to do that. It's very easy. It drives up your chances for a walk, as you might guess, and it reduces your chances for a home run. But you can definitely do it in Triple Play Baseball. All right. So I think we've covered the basics of Triple Play Baseball. And I can certainly go through, if someone would like me to go through a few innings or a whole game of a Triple Play Baseball game to demonstrate that, I can do that in a separate video. Just let me know in the comments below. If you have other questions about the game, or you'd like to see me go into more detail on any of this, I'd be happy to do that too. I do not work for Triple Play Baseball. I do not get anything from this video, but spreading information to you and, again, destroying your holiday budget. If you're interested in looking this up, it's TP Baseball, www.tpbaseball.info, and that is where you find Triple Play Baseball. I hope this has been entertaining and enlightening for you. Again, I appreciate your comments, questions, all that good stuff, and I hope you have a great day. Let's stick together, people. My name's Kurt Berglund. So long, everybody.